I will call our meeting to order. This is the Selectmen's Meeting for Tuesday, February 27th, 2018. This is our regular meeting at 7 p.m. I would remind everyone that we're being broadcast live through the Whitman Hanson Cable Access Channel, and ask people to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, another busy meeting. And before we move to public announcements, I would ask for a moment of silence for Miss Annette Pacciarelli, who passed away, and she was an active parishioner of St. Joseph the Worker Church in Hanson. She was also a secretary for 12 years, a volunteer for the Hanson Library, an election worker. She also volunteered at the Hanson Food Pantry and St. Vincent de Paul Society. She's survived by her husband of 42 years, Carl, loving mother of Matthew, and the late Amy Pacciarelli. So I would ask for a moment of silence and keep her in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you. Okay, moving directly to public announcements. Open burning season began January 15th and will run until April 30th. Permits will be available at Fire Headquarters, 505 Liberty Street, daily from 9 to 5. The cost of a permit is $20 payable by check or money order only, and it should be made out to the town of Hanson. No cash will be accepted. Nomination papers for the May 19th town election are now available at the Hanson Town Clerk's office. For more information, contact the town clerk at 781-293-2772. All voters and residents who have not returned their 2018 census form are urged to do so by the town clerk. Any voter that has not returned their 2018 town census form will be placed on the inactive voter list for future elections. The Hanson Library has teamed up with the Boston Bruins to participate in their annual pajama drive to benefit the Department of Children and Families and the Cradles to Crayons. From February 1st through March 15th, the Hanson Library will be accepting donations of new pairs of pajamas for babies, children, and teens. The 11th Annual Taste of Whitman in Hanson will be held on Thursday, March 8th from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Whitman VFW Post, 697 Essex Street, Whitman, Mass. That's Post 697. Tickets are $15 in advance and are available at Duval's Pharmacy, Ford's Insurance, Sandy's Coffee Corner, and the town clerk's office, or by calling Michael at 781-252-9683. Tickets can be purchased at the door for $20. Proceeds will benefit Whitman and Hanson Dollars for Scholars. The Board of Trustees of the Hanson Public Library is seeking the help of residents as they begin to consider options for improvements in library services. The library facility, through a survey, which can be accessed on the town website, www.hanson-ma.gov, or the library website at www.hansonlibrary.org. Surveys are due by March 9th, 2018. We also have surveys in the lobby, right in front of the Selectmen's room.
And I think some of them went out in the Express, too, or mailing or something, yeah.
I think the person, if they win, a drawing of $25 gift card from Shaw's. So get yours in if you can. I know I have, so all the selectmen have to get theirs in. The Hanson Business Networking will be hosting a St. Patrick's Day fundraiser at Camp Kawani on Saturday, March 17th from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. 100% of the proceeds from this event will be donated to the Hanson Food Pantry. This event will be a St. Patrick's themed shindig, complete with boiled dinner and all the condiments, coffee and dessert, live Irish music, DJ'd Irish music, an Irish step dancing performance, a silent auction, raffles, and a St. Patrick's Day photo booth. Tickets are $25 per person, but we're offering tickets for $20 if you contact us before February 17th, which is no longer, that ship is gone, right. If you would like to support this event but cannot attend, we are accepting donations for our raffle, and silent auction. For information, please check out the Hanson Business Network's Facebook page. Volunteers are needed on the following committees: 200th Anniversary, Agricultural, Capital Improvement, Community Preservation Commission, Disabilities, Economic Development Committee, Elder Affairs, Energy, Finance, McQuon Reuse Committee, Memorial Day Patriot Observance, Nathaniel Thomas Mill Committees, and Recreation Commission. Applications for appointment and information on the committee is available on the town website at www.hanson-ma.gov. Upcoming meetings: the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District has a Facilities Committee meeting on Wednesday, February 28th, 6 p.m. at the library. That's the high school library. Capital Improvement will be held on Monday, March 5th at 7:30 p.m. The Selectmen will meet next week, Tuesday, March 6th at 7 p.m. They'll also meet on Tuesday, March 20th at 7 p.m. Finance Commission will meet on Tuesday, March 6th at 7 p.m. And the School Repair Committee will meet Tuesday, March 13th at 7 p.m. And that concludes our public announcements and upcoming meetings. We are at 7:06 p.m. and I'm not allowed to start early. Is that right on the whole? So we have a joint poll hearing that will begin at 7:15. So we're at 7:06 p.m. And we also at that have a Capellini collision application for Class 2 license at 7:45. So why don't we move to appointment and resignations? Would there be any objection to that?
No.
Okay.
Item 5.
Item 5. Okay, item 5 on your,
Where is it?
okay, we have basically 2 resignations. One is for Gary Bannock, resignation from the School Repair Committee, with regret. Gary was a good member of that committee for quite some time. I would entertain a motion to accept his resignation from this committee.
So moved. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0 on Gary Bannock's resignation. We also have a resignation from the North River Commission. Again, regretfully, Kathleen Wormsley. I would entertain a motion to accept her resignation.
So
as
moved. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0 on item 5, both items, Mary.
Can I just mention that and it may just be the wording in Mr. Bannock's resignation, and I know he's moved on to the Education Fund, and he's doing great stuff there.
Yeah.
But I've been informed that this is the proper procedure to leave the non-performing committee. So did he put that in when he thought we were going to disband the committee?
I emailed him back and said
Okay.
that the committee is being reactivated.
Okay.
Is he still interested? And he
Okay.
said, in fact, he's busy with other things.
All right, I
so.
just wanted to make sure that he wasn't under, the wrong impression.
When I have a live one, I like to keep them, so I did my best to, hold on.
We're right there with you.
That's good. I saw that. I wasn't sure what it meant by that. Okay. The next items I have are why don't we move to requests? Or actually, we have item 4, Mike. Do we think we can cover that, or?
I can do that fairly quickly.
All right, this is the vote contract award for the engineering services contract, right?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I received a total of 5 different proposals over the course of the last several weeks. I think I'd mentioned that I had only gotten 2 a few meetings ago, and then at the last meeting I said that I had gotten 3 more, and I was comfortable at this point moving forward. So I have reviewed all of the proposals. I have conferred with town council in terms of the proper execution of a contract. So I would ask that the Board of Selectmen vote to allow me to enter a contract with Site Design Engineering LLC of Middleborough for as-needed on-call engineering services, contingent upon contract approval from town council. And the way that I will do this going forward is we will finish up any current projects that we have engaged our current engineer for, but going forward, any new projects will be done in consultation with Site Design Engineering.
And I noticed, Mike, that you had put the request for proposals out there. That's actually item 4. And then 4A is the details of site design engineering, correct?
Yes, and
4B is the number of responses we got.
yes, I spoke with the gentleman less than an hour and a half or so ago. Once everything is settled in terms of the contractual requirements, I will bring him in to introduce him and his company to the Board of Selectmen and to the town of Hanson.
Questions?
Mike, I'm sure that you did this, but I feel compelled to ask you, did we kick the tires and check references and all that
Almost
good
certainly.
stuff? Okay.
Almost certainly. To the point where I had a lengthy conversation with one of the towns that they've engaged with this morning.
Okay.
Checked everything else out by emails and such, but I wanted to get into some particulars with this particular town, and they're very happy with the work that they've been doing, so.
How long will the contract be good for?
This contract will do for a year, but we'll have 2 one-year kickers on it for renewal or for extension, I should say, which is fairly typical and fairly typical the way you do something like this.
How long was the last contract?
It really didn't seem to have an expiration on it, Jim. It dated back quite some time. And I think that the language there was basically it self-renewed without, as long as someone didn't say stop, so.
Right. So with the kickers then, that would be up to us or actually
Yeah.
up to you then?
Well,
Come,
up to us.
right.
Are there any
Jointly.
projects in flight that are going to be transitioned to this new
No.
engineering firm? or-
No,
Okay.
the projects that we have right now are nearing their end.
Okay.
So it really doesn't make any sense to change horses. It's not even midstream at this point. So
Okay.
we'll conclude those. Again, if anything new happens in the meantime, we'll engage this new firm and cease their existence.
Was our prior engineering firm, or our current engineering firm engaged in the highway piece? I know we had
No.
already outsourced and gotten that other, okay. I
It's-
didn't- Okay,
Yeah, that's Weston and Sampson that's
Okay.
engaged in that.
And our prior one, the town's prior one, was Beta Engineering Services, is that
Correct.
correct? And we thank them for their service during that time. So I would entertain a motion. Mike, what did you want to do to accept allow you to sign into contract
To
with
approve
Site-
signing a contract with Site Design Engineering LLC of Middleborough for as-needed on-call engineering services contingent upon contract approval from town council.
So moved.
Second?
I'll leave it to you, Mary, to figure out who got the second place. All right?
I think Jim got it.
Okay, maybe because Jim was loud.
might have to do a replay.
Okay,
Go again.
any
You got it,
discussion
Jim.
or questions further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
5-0.
And I know this is something the board had been interested in for a while, and I'm glad to finally bring it to
Yeah,
conclusion.
thank you for pursuing it and doing that due diligence.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move to item 6. We've got 2 minutes. This is a request for waiver, reduction of fees. The date it was filed was January 18, 2018. The name of the organization is Calvary Chapel, Rockland, Mass. They have requested the North End rental. They are having a church family picnic at Camp Kawani on August 19, 2018, from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. They have asked the Recreation Commission and Board of Selectmen to approve a rate of $500 for North End cabins rental and a $150 security deposit pending approval from the Board of Selectmen. This is a waiver for those amounts. Calvary Chapel requested that they would be allowed to cancel whether pending and able to book another date within 1 year of the August 19, 2018 event. The name of the representative is Scott Greenberg, and again, the address is Calvary Chapel, 175 Market Street, Rockland, Mass, with the phone number attached. I would entertain a motion to approve this waiver request.
Well, I've got a couple of questions, and I really wish that we could get these requests for reductions with a little more meat on the bone. And we had talked about perhaps having a checklist that we were gonna have, ask the Recreation Commission to develop, things like, is it a 501c3? Is this a date that they would normally book something for? Is it an organization within town? I conceptually don't have a problem. I mean, it's you know, it's a family picnic, that's exactly the type of thing that we'd like to see happening up at Camp Kawani. We love the fact that people from out of town are thinking about using it. I know they've got a lot of members in Hanson, you know, but I just, you know, is 8/19 a date that we ordinarily would have a wedding, and we're kind of like booking it and reducing a rate? I don't know, you know.
Well, I'll tell you, the only thing that, I did ask for, if we could put on the form for a 501c3.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the point of whether they have a wedding or not, my assumption is that they've already done their homework before it comes to us for that point.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That it's open and it was available during this time. But again, that's my assumption. I'm pretty sure that that would be appropriate, but we could follow up with Emery on this.
Yeah, and I do recall the conversation, and I apologize, I did intend on following through on that, but I will create a form that encompasses more of the information and promulgate that. I wrote that form, so I can just amend that.
Okay, I mean, I obviously
No, it's-
think this it falls within the spirit of the type of organization that we would normally grant a
Absolutely.
waiver to. I just, you know, would like just a little more protocol followed in the future
Yeah, and
when we
that's
get these requests.
totally appropriate.
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, only, it doesn't say, it says Recreation Commission and Board of Selectmen approve it, but it would go to the Rec Commission first, then us. It-
It's approved by them before it
already
comes
been-
to us, so
It
they've
is.
already approved it.
Okay, so
Yes.
they have,
Yeah.
okay.
That's my understanding too, Jim, that the board is, that they've done their homework before it comes to us.
I'll motion that for so moved.
I need a second.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. So again, we'll ask for a 501c3. Laura, can you think of anything, other items that you may want to put onto the,
I'll shoot an email, Mike. and
To Mike
you
to-
just, you
to
know,
talk about?
Like, I'd just like to have them kind of, like, every time, kind of check the boxes, you know,
I like the 501c3. on the
that
form.
for sure.
Yeah, we did talk about
Yeah.
that too, so. Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Further comments or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. 5-0. And we are at 5:17. So we are going to move to our item 1 on your iPads. I'd like to read a hearing notice. At the request of National Grid, the Hanson Board of Selectmen is conducting a joint poll hearings for polls located at Crescent Street, King Street, and Ransom Road, Hanson, Mass. at 7:15 PM in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, Hanson Town Hall. Do I hear a motion to open the hearings?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0 to open this hearing. Okay, so we have, if you guys notice, there's 3 letters went to abutters. And the first one I think we have is on, oops, hold on, this one is on the Crescent Street. So it's item 1A on your iPads. So the Crescent Street National Grid requests to install pole down guy, that's the wire that holds the pole, I found out, right, Donnie?
Yes, the guy wire
They
that comes
call it,
down,
it says down guy. And
stabilize
anchor-
the pole.
Yeah, with a 4-foot lead across from pole 5 Crescent Street. Pole and anchor will be located on town property at the east side of Crescent Street. Pole will be labeled 5-84. Is National Grid here with us today? Gentlemen, how are you? Could you,
This one here?
it's,
Yep.
Yeah.
item 1A, yep.
What's this one here?
I'm sorry, gentlemen, could you stand, just let us know your names for the people out there in the, in TV world?
Bill Matthews?
Bill Matthews, hi, Bill. And you, sir?
John Lakia.
John?
Yeah.
Do you guys want to come on up for a second? One of you come up to the podium, or both of you, I don't care, either one. So we have, if I'm looking at this, and I'm assuming that we have all the information, there's no changes to what we have in front of us. Would that be correct, gentlemen? Do you know? Right? So we have full and UG petition permit request form. And if you'll notice, under item 1A, guys, there's a map on Crescent Street where they're talking about where to place these poles. Are there any questions from anyone?
Well, was that the one that we received an impassioned letter from somebody on?
No, that's King
No,
Street.
that's King
Okay,
Street.
all right,
Yep.
okay. Can you guys just kind of walk us through how you decide on site placement? I'm sure you try to mitigate, you know, and take into consideration the homeowners and all of that, but do you mind just kind of laying the foundation?
Yeah, you know, what we normally do when we come into a situation like this, we try to notify the people that property might be impacted, just to give them a heads up what's going to take place. Not necessarily what's going to take place now, but it's
Right.
got to go through the process. So that way they're not surprised when some work starts to happen. But anyway, in this particular case here, we're at pole number 5, and all of these other poles that we'd be talking about this evening. We have what they call a tree guy that supports pole number 5 right now. And it's a bad construction practice that they used years ago, so we like to sustain pole 5 with our own pole and guy wire and an anchor. And that's the purpose of this particular Crescent Street location, King and Ransom Road. They're all tree guys, again, bad construction practice, and we want to get everything back to what National Grid uses as a good construction practice now. That'd be a stub pole and an anchor and a down guy.
So
these-
this, oh, go ahead, Jim.
No, so these new poles will basically help support the existing poles then?
Yes,
And it's safer.
yes.
Johnny?
Yeah, you've already contacted the residents in the area and talked to them?
But what we normally do is, if they're not home, we leave them a door knocker. Always leave my name, number on there, and they call me back, and I try to explain to them what's going to transpire. Sometimes the individuals don't call me back, but I do, we try our best at the time we're out in the field looking at the locations to try to make contact with whatever customer's going to
That's
be
what I
impacted.
meant. I mean,
Yes,
it's easier to do things if you let the people, residents in
exactly.
front, know what's going on.
Yeah.
Have you gotten any feedback from any of the people other than the one that we are aware of? And
Crescent Street, I think I did speak to the individual to the right of the, where the pole's gonna go, and he didn't seem to have any objections to it, but that's all I can say on the
Okay,
Crescent
well, I
Street
mean, that's what the
location.
hearing's for,
Right,
is, you
mhm.
know.
Well, that's a good question. Do we have anybody here from Crescent Street who, nobody from Crescent Street?
Nobody.
Any questions on that? No? Just a quick question. How come you wouldn't put like pole to pole next to it? That way instead?
Well, the purpose of the, there's 2 different ways of guying a pole,
Yeah.
right? We get, we call an inside corner.
Yeah,
The pole has a tendency to want to lean this way.
okay.
So we try to put the guy behind it to hold the pole straight.
Right.
In this case, when you get an outside corner, the pole wants to lean backwards, so we put the guy wire went in the tree, and it was to hold the pole straight. Now we're gonna put a telephone pole in its place to keep the pole straight,
Gotcha.
you know?
Plus, why would you, if the
Tree
pole's-
gonna be taken out?
Not the tree guy, the tree guy will be taken out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you're right, why would you put the 2 poles together like that if they're leaning in?
But we do have situations, they call us a push brace.
Yeah,
So if the pole is wanting to push this way,
yeah,
we'll put another pole up against it to support it.
okay.
We try to stay away from push braces because it's not a very pretty looking scenario, but if we have to utilize that method of construction, we can do that, you know.
Okay.
And what kind of time frame are you looking at in terms of, so I know weather is highly unpredictable and all that, but,
Well, if we get the approval on it, the work will get set out to construction. Could be a couple of months, could be a month,
okay.
could be several months.
Okay. So the description of the work says install pole, down guy, and anchor with a 4-foot lead across from pole 5 Crescent Street. Pole and anchor will be located on property town on East Street of Crescent Street. And pole will be labeled 584. But there's actually 2 of them, isn't there, gentlemen, or am I mistaken? Is that-
And
the
on
map
Crescent-
had 2.
On
Pole
Crescent
6,
Street,
Yeah.
6 is already in
already there?
existence already.
Okay, so just pole 5-84 is the new one?
Yes.
Gotcha. I got you, okay.
And this will, I don't know if this is probably just boilerplate language you have in these notices, but is this going to require you to do any underground work?
No,
Okay.
we'll
right.
just excavate with the auger on a digging truck.
I thought that was the case, but of course
Mm-hmm.
this says you've got the right to lay cable, blah, 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 and I was just trying to figure out if you were going to.
That's kind of boilerplate
I
like
thought
that,
that,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, any other further questions, or from anyone in the audience on Crescent Street? Okay, I would entertain a motion to accept National Grid's petition for joint pole location on
Second.
Crescent Street. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0 on the Crescent Street. Street pole. 5-0. Okay, next one we have is the, item B, this is the King Street one, and Laura, this is the one where we
Yeah.
had some folks who sent us an email on it. There is, this is the King Street section between, is it West Washington? and-
East Washington.
I'm sorry, East Washington and
Fairwood Drive.
Whitman? Whitman, yeah, is it Fairwood?
It says
Well, it's-
Fair-
that's-
the
Fairwood?
map.
Between Whitman and Fairwood.
Oh, okay, I see it, yeah.
Yeah.
I gotcha. So I was in the, okay. I should be before the stop sign there, right? You'd think I would know better since I live around the corner, okay. And after Mr. Taylor, so we have, this states, if you look at item 1, it says in the National Grid request to install 2 poles, down and anchors with a 5-foot lead across from poles 9 and 11 King Street will be located on the westerly side of King Street and labeled 9-84 and 11-84 respectively. And if you go to item 1B, you'll see a short section of the map where it's just located across from, it looks like 123 King Street.
123, and that's the homeowners from 123 that wrote the
That
letter.
wrote the letter, and then we
Yeah.
also have 91 King Street, right? Why don't we go to the people who are here? Do we have anybody from King Street? Mr., would you just give us your name and address, please?
Robert Taylor at 128 King Street.
You guys, are you the?
No,
peop-
no,
oh,
Downing
yeah.
is the other one.
Okay,
Downing.
okay, great.
The Downers actually brought this to my attention the other day, and she supplied me with her letter that she had submitted to the town in pole 11, which is right in front of my house.
Okay,
And from her and the Mescals, they really don't want the pole on their properties, and especially with the guide wire coming down, because they are neighbors and they do cross paths back and forth there. They're afraid that they'll probably walk right into that wire, choke themselves out or something like that, so. After talking to Miss Downer, Linda Downer, I suggested putting a push pole on our property. We have no problem given the variance that you guys need there at National Grid. The only problem is, and I'd like to just take a minute and show you, I believe you guys already have these photos.
Yes, we do. Yep.
Yeah, your pictures should
Problem
be on,
is-
the pictures should be on your iPads.
This is
I
the
have
pole
it.
right here in picture 2, okay?
item 1B,
Discussing.
page 3, guys.
Okay, now, there's a bunch of trees right here, okay?
1B.
And you can see
1B,
that
page
these
3.
wires here, coming from pole 11, these actually come directly to my house, okay?
This is what I have.
All right.
This is what we're talking about.
No,
This
you
is
actually have
pole 11,
you actually have
and,
photographs.
right
You should
back,
you
you
should
can
put
see my house
photographs on the
there.
iPad.
Yeah,
What
What
item
we're
number?
proposing is,
Yeah, because
It would say photo, I think.
and this is like directly right behind pole 11, okay? So what we're proposing is, if you guys don't mind chopping these trees down, eliminating all those trees right in
Photos.
that one area,
Thanks, Kenny.
okay? We have no problem letting you guys do whatever you need to do to put a push pole there.
Yeah, doing any tree work, it's beyond our scope. It's gotta go above and beyond what we're able to let you know whether or not it can be done or not, you know?
Another thing would be just a suggestion, and this is.
Would you mind if we saw the photos? I don't think we have the photos exactly.
Here we
yeah.
go.
We don't have clear photos.
Okay.
So, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Taylor, what were you talking about in terms of the wires?
Well, in picture 1
Oh,
there,
through the trees.
they come, those are the wires coming from pole 11 directly to my house.
Into your home?
So we're proposing to National Grid that, that they wipe out all those trees there so that we have clear lines coming through to our home. And then also, they can have the access way to put a push pole.
Okay, so you're suggesting that they take down these trees?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Are these trees on town-owned property, or are they on
I
personal
think- I
property?
think 2 of the trees are actually on town property. There's 3 trees on.
So it's like
on
a
our
combination of town
Right.
and your property?
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody want to see
And you
them?
said you're not really
take out all
empowered
these.
tonight to give a response
take
to
the
that
trees.
As far
particular
as the,
proposal. You'd have to take
cutting
it
any
back.
trees down, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
I do want to mention one thing, the Downers that live at 123 King Street, they had a guy wire in a tree on their property that was put in a long, long time ago, and the tree has since died, and it's been cut, and it's probably maybe 15 feet above the ground, what's left of it. And we looked at doing a stub pole at pole number 10. So pole number 9, 10, and 11 all had the same scenario with tree guys.
Okay,
And what we did is we approached the owners at 116 King Street
yep,
for pole number 10. And what we're going to do is we're going to utilize that push brace. And the push brace will be on private property, so we're going to get an easement from the owners of that property.
okay.
What's that again?
The cabins.
Yes, Cadmus,
Of
yes.
116 King Street.
116 King Street. Now, we can go back and revisit pole 11 again and see whether or not, because with a push brace, we need at least 16 feet lead away from the pole in order for it to do its necessary job.
Okay,
That's not a problem, that would actually fall right onto our property, and we have no problem with that.
So if that be the case, then we'd have to, matter of fact, we're going to be working up in Situate tomorrow. Excuse me, so if you're going to be around tomorrow, we can probably stop by and,
I won't be around until after 2, I guess,
2
some
o'clock.
doctor's appointments for
all
my
right,
mother.
okay.
Well, I applaud you. I mean, the Downers had concerns with both poles.
Yes.
You've taken care of one of them.
Yes,
So now we're down to pole 11, right? Okay.
so you've taken care of pole 10.
Pole 10
It's
is
taken
what he
care of.
just
Yep,
discussed.
yep.
The Cadman agreed,
Yeah.
and they're gonna relocate it, so they've been responsive to that concern.
so if you
So,
be
but he's just asking,
around
but
after
their
2,
letter is asking the same
we
thing
can-
on the
No,
tree.
Make
but
it our
that-
business
they were
to
asking for the
meet with
same
you,
thing
okay?
he's already saying they're gonna
That'll
do
be perfect.
for
Yeah.
that pole, but we still have pole 11.
Excellent.
Well,
That's
that
a
is pole
problem.
11, it says a
No,
tree.
this, sorry, this
So
10
we're gonna
is the next page
hold off then on pole 11
10.
until,
regarding.
Yeah,
pole
until we
10.
can
So
go
this
out
one
and
is
see
still an issue.
what
That's all
what we
set.
got out there, and
This is
well,
pole
now we
11 you're
can
not
make it
taking
work.
You shouldn't
Right,
act
but it
on
says,
it
will
if
the
it's
tree
pole.
wire be cut down, make
Yeah,
room for the
this
pole?
is the one that he just proposed, it could go through his property instead,
Okay,
but they're not prepared to, today, they've gotta go back and check with their guys, I'm sure there's cost concerns and,
so do we have to
We
hold?
we also appreciate the fact that you had already mentioned that, the push pole does kind of like make an eyesore. But we don't have a problem with that, that's a lot safer than having that wire coming down on the property and kids walking by, riding their bikes, riding by, getting choked out, whatever. I know from experience, being delivering newspapers, I've gotten choked out by them, so.
Okay.
So John, how does this work? Do we hold off on this until after you meet with them and then we come back?
You should vote to continue this portion of the hearing until a date to be determined.
I see, okay.
can we close out the poll that they've agreed on, which is
Poll
poll
10?
No,
Okay,
because
so-
the hearing or this particular proposal is joint, so
Okay.
you really shouldn't segregate it.
All right, so we'll come back and discuss pole 9,
Poll,
pole 9 and 11.
Right.
Yeah.
okay,
Just to give you a heads up on pole 9, there was an old home that was there that was demolished, and the contractor built a brand new home, probably on 91 King Street.
Okay.
And I did speak with him back last year when we,
There's a new house there now, isn't there?
Yes.
Right, a colonial.
and I guess he,
Actually, at pole 9, where you're suggesting to put the adjacent pole across the street there, that'd be actually right in front of that pond.
yes,
Okay. So, I'm sorry, what were you saying, John? You spoke to the builder?
I spoke to whoever owned the property.
Owned the property.
right, And he had no objection, so I guess his land goes facing the new home to the right,
I see.
where it's
Okay.
vacant, and it's probably wetland there.
Yep,
And he didn't seem to have a problem with it, because we wanted to check and make sure if he was gonna do any building there, if it would interfere with a driveway, if he had plans of, putting another house in there.
okay, cool. Right, so, I guess, the only thing I had a question on, guys, and maybe it's me, but it says that the King Street, the petition said National Grid to request install 2 poles, right? One was pole 9 and one was pole 11.
Yeah,
That's what the petition is, right?
Yeah, 9-84
that's
and
because they
11
took care of 10
Okay.
already.
But the email that we got from the Downers talks about pole 10,
Yes,
which is not part of the petition.
right.
Right.
At the time when we were out there, on our list of work to be checked, we only had pole 9 and 11. Pole 10 wasn't on there, but we did speak with the Downers about it.
Okay,
And they kind of asked, well, we've already spoken to the couple at 116 and the Cadmans.
okay.
And they said they had no problem with putting the push brace in. But that was just talk that we had with the Downers initially. So we were out there last week and we spoke to the Downers and also to the Cadmans. Cadmans had no problem with us doing
Okay,
it.
but so when you come back to talk to us about this, shouldn't this be updated to say poles 9, 10, and 11, since you're actually gonna be doing work on all of them?
10 is going to involve an easement now. It's going to be on private property, so we don't have to petition.
Okay.
That's it. So it'll be an easement, so it's something that we're going to deal with the Cadmans.
Privately with the
Right.
homeowner?
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, so 10 will be on private property, which doesn't need a petition, but if it's on public land,
That
then
makes
obviously
sense.
that's what you need to
Okay.
do. Okay. All right, so I would entertain a motion to table the King Street
So moved.
petition
Second.
until reviewed by National Grid. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 to table.
Motion to close the hearing.
Actually,
No,
we
we
got
have,
one
we have
more.
Ransom Road.
Stop trying to rush us, will you, Laura? Okay. We have one more. We have Ransom Road, and that's item 1C on your iPads. And the work says the National Grid requests to install pole, down guy, and anchor with 5-foot leads across from pole 1 Ransom Road and will be labeled 1-84. And if you look at your, again, iPad item C, page 3, you'll have a picture of Ransom Road. Oops. Is anybody here from Ransom Road who wants to discuss or have questions on this? Okay, no one's here. So noted.
And 3 that you got.
Okay, do you guys see the picture? So it looks like it's going to be at the intersection of Ransom Road and Indian
Indian
Head
Head
Street.
Street.
Yep. And again, these are just, what's the image that I saw? These are basically safety issues, right? You're
Yes.
trying to keep the poles from leaning.
It's another tree guy scenario.
Yep. And it looks like that the lead is also on public land, so. Any questions, folks? From anyone?
No.
All right. I would entertain a motion to accept this petition for Ransom Road.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. So we'll see you in a few, I guess, on King Street,
Yes.
right? We got 2 out of 3, guys. That's not
Good.
bad for us, right?
Excellent. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you
your
both
time.
very
Appreciate it.
much. Okay, moving on in our agenda, we have the 7:38, and we cannot begin until 7:45. So, let's look what we can do. We talked about the Calvary Chapel Rockland, we voted on that.
Did we vote to close the hearings?
No, that's a great point, Mary, we should. Do I hear a motion to close the hearings?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 to close the hearings. Thank you, Mary, for the reminder. Perfect, okay. So we have why don't we move to item 7, because we've got about 7 minutes to kill, I guess.
Item 7.
Item 7 is recreation. They are requesting us to declare a George Steck piano surplus. So again, this is item 7 on your iPads. And it says to the Hanson Board of Selectmen, from Camp Kawani Recreation Commission. The Recreation Commission would like to request the Board of Selectmen declare a George Steck upright piano as surplus. And there's nothing further on this. Mary, do you have any, well, first of all, are there any questions on this?
What is a George Steck upright? I feel
Steck.
like I'm not in the
George
know
Steck
here.
upright piano.
Yeah, I guess it's just an upright piano.
I guess it's the upright
Yeah.
one, yeah. It's not the one that like Liberace used to play on, right? Okay, so why don't we entertain a motion to accept, to declare as surplus the George Steck upright piano as recommended by the
So moved.
Recreation Commission.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion, question, Jim?
No, doesn't Laura have to wait till you finish saying the motion before she
Don't be
says
jealous,
so moved?
Jim. Don't
Or-
don't be
No.
like that.
It's hard, I know.
Mr.
You
Chair,
don't
the
have-
only, I do have a question.
On the
With the
piano?
surplus, Mike, do they have somebody get rid of it, or are they donating it to somewhere?
No,
or-
I'll,
Or is it just that bad?
Sell it.
no, what I'll do is I'll put it on the, that auction site that we've sold other surplus
Oh, all
town
right, great.
materials, and yeah, I took a quick look at the value of something like that. We could get a couple $100 for it.
And does the money go back to the Recreation Commission or no?
No,
Okay.
it goes into the general
And they
fund,
still have a piano there?
apparently.
Okay.
As it
This
were.
this must have been an extra case.
Yeah.
Yes, but just hate to
Have
see
you guys
something
seen the
like
piano?
that get
No?
thrown away.
No, it won't, no.
It is the only one?
It's the
Yeah?
only piano. Okay,
Okay.
okay. So it hasn't been really, all right. So
Okay.
it's not like it's a huge loss of entertainment ability for the town, okay.
It's an antique.
It is, well, Mike said he looked it up and it's maybe worth a couple $100.
Yeah.
It's not in great
Okay.
shape. If somebody might want it for parts, or...
All right. Good stuff. All right. All those in favor, actually, did we motion it?
Moved and
We did
seconded.
move and seconded.
Yes.
Is that correct?
I
All those in
cut you
favor
off.
say, to declare as surplus, all those in favor say aye. Aye. 5-0. To accept as surplus the George Steck upright piano. We also have another item, we've got about 5 minutes, right? Request letter, actually, we have a library foundation. Why don't we move to item 9? I'm sorry I'm jumping around, but that's what happens when you have hearings, right? Item 9 is a request to the Board of Selectmen from the Library Foundation to waive the liquor license fee for April 28th, a jazz event at the library. And it looks like the directors of the Hanson Public Library Foundation Incorporated are requesting a one-day bar permit for the Jazz in the Library event being held in the Hanson Public Library on Friday, April 28th, 2017, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. This is a free cultural and social event being offered to the public to showcase our library and in celebration of National Library Week. Since this is a free public event, the foundation directors request that the bar permit fee be waived. Boxwood Saxophone Quartet has been booked for this event, and the Library Foundation is hoping to offer a cash bar featuring beer and wine. Cheese and crackers will also be served to attendees. This event will be an over 21 of age event. The registration for this event will be through the Hanson Public Library's website at hansonlibrary.org, under Calendar of Events, or in person at the library. It says in detail, William Fuller of the Bartending Service of New England is willing to extend to the Library Foundation the same terms of agreement that he has with this contract with the town of Hanson. Bill has reserved the date for the Jazz in the Library, and I will be in contact with him once the request for the bar permit is acted upon by the selectmen, and I being Linda Wall. So I would entertain a motion to accept the waiver for the one-day bar permit for the Jazz in the Library event from the Hanson Public Library.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Do we know if they've got the appropriate insurance up there to have alcoholic beverages?
Bartending service.
They did it
have
last year.
insurance,
I-
Okay,
That's what it
is
is.
it covered by the bartender? Bartending
Yes, the
services?
bartending
Okay.
service carries
And
a
then my
license.
second question is,
Carries a permit.
I don't have a
Sure.
problem, obviously, they do great work, and I don't have a problem waiving the permit. But I'm wondering, don't we have to have a permit, a liquor license?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, approve the liquor, one-day liquor license
Yeah.
and approving a waiving
Okay,
of the fee.
because I didn't
but
see that on there.
We were really
Okay.
quick with the motion. So to approve a one-day liquor
She set
license
me up,
and
though.
waive the license fee.
There you go.
Okay, so that's what the motion should state, right? So we should amend the motion as such. Would I hear a, you
No way.
don't want to amend it? You have to amend it. So,
Oh.
motion,
So moved.
Kenny?
Second.
There you go. So you got the amendment on that, right?
Yeah.
Are there any further questions or comments? Good questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0 on the waiver for the one-day bar permit for the library. Okay, I have 7:44 on my clock. And I don't think there's anything, so we've covered item 9.
Mis-
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, excuse me, Mr. Chair, item number 3, on item number 3.
Item number 3.
That could be done in less than a minute, I believe.
Oh, this is the discussion of the school repair committee?
Just the reduction.
The reduction of the membership.
Yep.
Jim?
When the repair committee was started, it was a 7-member board. They went up to 9 shortly after that. And then within the next 18 months, 2 members of that committee resigned.
Yep.
So all I would be asking the board to do is go back to the original 7-member board.
And can you just remind us, and I think it's always better if it's a small committee anyway, because it's death by 1,000 cuts, the more people you've got, but can you just remind us, are there required members, like from the school committee, and you know, like, or is Ernie a required or like adjunct?
Well, Ernie is not on it, and there was one school committee member,
Okay.
required, which was Bob Hayes. There are
Yeah.
2 other members on it, but they don't have to be represented as school committee members.
They're
They
just
can
coming in as themselves,
citizens
not
at
as,
large
okay,
type
yep,
thing.
okay.
And you
And-
can change that makeup too, Jim,
Yes.
if you need to.
Yeah.
And as you read, Gary resigned earlier, so right now, 6 members. We do have our first meeting set up, Mr. Chair, that you
The
read in the
13th.
announcements.
Yeah.
So all I'm really asking the board is to do is bring it back down to the original 7.
All right, so moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Abstain, I guess, or,
No, you can vote, you can vote.
all right.
5-0 on reducing the membership from 9 to 7 on the school repair committee. Okay. I have 7:46, that's good. We're going to have another hearing notice. The Hanson Board of Selectmen will hold a hearing on the request of Scott Campolini of 3 Holmes Street, Hanson, Mass. for Capolini Enterprises Incorporated, DBA Capolini Collision, for a Class 2 used car license at 1282 Main Street, Hanson, Mass. Said hearing will be held on Tuesday, February 27th at 7:45 PM in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, Hanson Town Hall. Do I hear a motion to open the hearing?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. 5-0 on opening the hearing. Do we have the representatives here? Hi, would you just give us your name, step up to the podium, please, and name and address?
My name is Scott Capolini. I live at 162 Sumner Street in Quincy, Massachusetts.
Thank you, Scott. Could you just give us an overall what you're asking to? So this is a Class 2 used car license at 1282 Main Street, right?
Yep.
Can you just give us a little bit more background on like how many cars or?
So
What the
the
service
car, the amount of car thing I'm getting confused about because I've asked a couple different people. Is it the amount of cars that can be sold, like out for sale at a time, or how many cars can be on the property that are owned by the dealership, by the business? Do you know how that? I've asked a couple. I talked to someone from the state and they couldn't even give me. They said it's town to town is different.
I'm sure our bylaw specifies that, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know if,
No, it
we have the
doesn't.
Bob, it would be
Each-
Bob Curran, right?
Each license.
Each
is-
license is determined by how much space you have.
All right,
So,
because I would like to advertise 2 cars for
Two
sale,
cars,
but
right.
I'd like to be able to have 4 on the property at any time. If like it just like 2 for sale and kind of 2 in waiting. So I don't know if that's a 4-car license or a 2-car license, but
that would be, if you're gonna have 4 cars on the property.
Yeah,
That's
so-
how the license is.
that's what I would like.
How
I'd
would
only
we-
be advertising 2 at a time, just because I'd only have space to like
For
have
the-
2 in front.
To put 2 in the front and keep the
Because
other 2.
we have a big lot out back that probably holds 12 cars, and out front there's 6 spaces, but I need 4 of them for like customers' cars, and then the other 2 would just be strictly for advertising the.
So can you give us a visual on where, is that gonna, oh, okay, great.
Sorry,
Where 1282 Main Street is?
Yeah, well, no, I know where it is, but I'm trying to picture where the parking
Location of the
spots would
cars?
be that he's gonna be putting
so
the cars.
I only have 2 cars.
That's fine. Just,
Yeah, we can pass it down, we're good at
So-
sharing.
This is my unit,
Yep,
so I have 2 bays of this unit, and then
Okay.
there's 6 spots out front, and I would just be, these 2 right here, my office is right there, so there'd be 2 parked right out front, so the
Okay.
furthest left. but-
and for those who are map challenged, such as myself, can you give us a
Yep,
visual
so
of like
Route
what's all around?
27's
Yep.
right here.
Okay.
You'd be pulling down, this is outdated too, there's a building here now, like they've done some construction down there, and all this is opened up out back, so.
Now, am I mistaken, is this that, like, Beagle Graphics or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that is,
Yeah.
that building would be like right here at the street. So
Okay.
you pull down, there's Cafe Deli's over here, there's a big parking lot between this building and Cafe Deli.
Okay.
And then, so we're like halfway down, like, there's a main building here, this is the original Casoli Sand and Gravel building, and we're in like the second half of that.
Okay, so you're not right on the street.
Oh, no, like,
Okay.
I would just be advertising, a lot of people come in and out of
Yeah.
there, and,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so it's,
Okay.
so it'd just be right there, there wouldn't be anything
I
right
mean,
on
it
the
makes
street.
perfect sense. You guys are doing collision stuff.
Yeah,
and-
like, it
Yeah.
really isn't adding anything to
Donnie,
Yep.
did you see it? You good?
inside.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he knows where it is.
So these are the two bays he's talking about. and this
Yeah,
is
I know
the
exactly where he
27.
is. He's got a condo in Casoles.
So Scott,
he's just looking to
Selectman
put-
Mitchell and I were just talking, you're not gonna be able to see these cars from,
Yeah.
from
You
Route
get a lot of people,
27.
yeah, exactly, it's not gonna be, they're not, you'll be able to kinda see them.
Not a big deal.
I'm probably gonna
So-
put stuff on, like, honestly, whatever I'm advertising, I'll probably put online, like
Right.
on my
I was just
website or
gonna
something
ask,
like that.
where you can't see the cars
Yeah.
from the street, how are you gonna
Yeah,
advertise?
probably just like, I have a website and do it on there, or like autotrader.com or something, and we have so many customers come in that are always asking for, you know, do you have anything for sale?
Well,
And
plus people coming in that
Yeah,
cafe
right.
deli parking
All the-
lot and.
and
Is
yeah.
4 gonna be enough?
But
yeah, like we're too busy with the collision part of it anyways, like if it gets to a point where it becomes not enough, I'll probably come back, but I don't think it's gonna be, 4 will be fine.
Mr. Chairman, unless the applicant has an issue with it, Mary and I just had a sidebar, and if it is indeed your intent only to sell 2 at a time, it really should only be 2 at a time. I mean, it should only say a license to sell 2 cars.
Well, that's,
But-
But I
well,
just don't, the biggest thing is it
I
like,
don't want to hamstring him.
Yeah,
If he
like that-
thinks
that
I
would
may
be-
have
And
4.
and that's why I
All
throw
right,
it back
so I'd like
to
to
the
advertise.
applicant.
I'd like to do 4 if
Well,
possible.
and
Wait a
that's why I
minute,
was
hold on
gonna
a
say,
second.
Scott, if somebody else comes in, and you don't have those other 2 cars advertised, you really can't.
No,
sell-
exactly, yeah,
No, he
exactly.
cannot.
Okay, so-
Correct.
4 would be fantastic.
so item 2 on your iPads is the application for a license, right?
Right,
Okay, where does it say the number of cars?
right up here.
That says
No,
class
that's
2
the
license.
type of license.
That's
He
not it.
does not,
I don't believe there was a spot on
he
there.
does not have.
There is nothing
no.
on here that
Okay,
says
so
that.
it's not like he's modifying an application,
Right.
but
No.
when we make the motion, we'll make
Right.
the motion on.
Yep,
For
Yeah.
4.
4
So-
would be yes.
right, because honestly, Laura, I thought that too, but it doesn't. That's for
Yeah.
the type of license that it's asking.
Yeah, it's a class 2.
Okay, so there's nothing on here, but in front, in all honesty to Scott, it says, item 7, he gave a complete description of all the premises, which matches the images that he gave us here.
I'd rather, be safe than sorry. I don't want to set him up to violate it right out of the gate.
Yeah,
If,
like I know.
he thinks it could go up to 4. I think
Yep.
we should just give him the 4. It's not highly visible. It's not going to be a deterrent or a detraction from any other businesses around there.
Well, my question is, Mike, is shouldn't we have like on these type of, when they put like the number of items, the number of cars? When they do an application, so license, buy, sell, or exchange?
This is a state form.
Oh, I see.
So-
Okay.
Yeah.
We can't.
So
we
the answer is yes, but it's
Yeah.
not us.
We
Okay,
can't, we
I
can't
gotcha.
redesign, I can't redesign this one.
Yeah, I got you, okay.
But we can issue the license for 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you, okay.
So
And
I'm,
what you
I'm,
find an awful lot too is there's a back and forth, and sometimes you might come in and you might ask for 7, and the
Yep.
board's not happy with that or
Yep.
comfortable with that, and they'll give you 5. So it is a little bit of a back and forth usually in a hearing like this.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think 4 is a grab, really. I think
Because
it's
everybody will stop
very
looking at that.
reasonable. So,
So how to form the motion, please?
yeah,
for
is there
Laura.
anybody here that, because
I'd
it's a
like to,
hearing.
I'd like
Is
to
there
make a
anybody?
motion to allow Capellini Enterprises Incorporated
After the second.
to give them a Class 2 license to sell 4 cars at a time.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we're at a hearing,
Oh, second.
motion's been made and seconded, and further discussion. Is there anybody here or in a butter?
Jim
or-
has a question.
I'm sorry, who?
I just
Jim.
wanted to know how you get along with your secretary and your treasurer.
This guy, he's kind of a jerk.
Okay.
He can be a
Thought that
pain.
was kind of cool that it's
No, he,
all you.
Yeah,
I tell people all the time, my boss kind of says.
so is there anybody here, in a butter to the property, or anybody who wishes to speak to this particular request for a Class 2 license? Just please state, Joan.
My only question is you should put up to four cars, not mention 4
Yes.
cars, because he's not planning on having 4 cars for sale at the same time, he's only planning on having 2.
2.
Yep.
But if you put up to 4, that covers you that extra 2 that
In case.
he wants to
Yeah.
have on the lot.
Yep.
Okay?
Thank you, Joe.
That was it.
Price.
So,
No.
so we'll make sure that that was entered in the motion, right, Mary? Up to 4?
Okay.
Great.
That makes a lot of sense.
Any further questions or comments? Again, this is a hearing on this, so going once, twice. Very good. All right. The motion has been made and seconded to accept this Class 2 license as stated.
And do we need to amend it to say up to 4?
No.
No, I
Okay,
think Mary,
all right.
Mary did it before we're gonna vote on
All
it,
right.
so I think we're good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Motion to
approve.
close the hearing.
Motion has been made to close the
Second.
hearing, seconded. Let's call to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Close the hearing, 5-0. Thank you, Scott.
Good luck.
Thanks. Good luck.
Very much.
Okay, that's pretty good. We're on time for both hearings, so now we're going to move directly to the Recreation Commission presentation of the facilities assessment. Do we have, Anne Marie?
Hi, how are you?
How you doing?
Hi.
I just wanted to say a little bit before the gentleman from OPI comes up to give us his review.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say on behalf of the Recreation Commission, I want to thank the Board of Selectmen for giving us this opportunity to share the findings of the facilities assessment done at Camp Kawani, which was paid for by an article from the October town meeting. We want to share these findings with the townspeople, and before we begin the assessment, I just want to bring to your attention all the necessary items that the current Recreation Commission completed in the last 12 months. I've also given you a list of permits of work that have been done prior to our involvement with the camp from around 2003 to 2016. I can go over the first hand of the items that the current commission has done, but the Recreation Commission also wants everyone to know that these items were either of an urgent repair or due to damages or repair work that was needed in order to facilitate a safe environment for our renters. The reason the Recreation Commission wants to present tonight is twofold. One is to allow the townspeople to have an in-depth look at the facility and understand the ongoing problems, but also to understand that while it's the desire of the entire commission to bring recreation back to this wonderful facility, based on our mission statement from our policies and procedures, it states in part that recreational programs are organized to encourage participation and enjoyment and should be held at a safe and well-equipped facility. It's our goal to get back to recreational programs with the hiring of a new director, but also to look ahead with the hiring of a facilities manager and correct these issues being presented here tonight so we can all enjoy a safe and well-equipped facility. So right now I'd like to introduce Lee Chiswick from AEI. He's going to present the facilities assessment. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Lee.
Okay.
Please step up at the podium. Appreciate it. So this is item 3 on the facilities report that we should all have in front of us.
Okay, so my understanding is that you were going to ask me questions about what we did and how we came about some of the conclusions.
Well, I'll tell you what, can you give us an overall
Yeah.
from what you did in the conclusions, basically?
Oh, yes.
'Cause I understand there's 20,
So I do.
by the way, there's 24 documents that.
Right, there were a number of reports, and so what I brought the electronic versions of them on my laptop, thinking that you would have the reports.
We do, we
We
have
do
them in
have
front
Okay,
of us.
fantastic.
We
All
do.
right, so we're there. Okay, so when we went about this, our understanding was that the lodge is the one building that really has the most use and is the most critical of the properties because it's used for a number of functions and weddings and receptions. Not that the other buildings aren't important, but that was the one that really is considered to be the most valuable of all the buildings on the site. So we did an evaluation, obviously, of the lodge building, and then there's the Frontier cabin. And then there's the set of cabins called the North End and the set of cabins called the South End, and what's called the Caretaker's Building, which is actually a storage and maintenance facility. And then the 2 cabins called electric cabins, and the 2 bathhouses, and also the bridal cottage. So what we found, and typically in our reports, there's 2 things that we look at. One is if there are immediate reserves, and then the other is long-term reserves. The long-term reserves are really what you need to put aside for routine maintenance and to keep the facility functioning. And then the immediate reserves are if we see things that are of concern that probably should be taken care of sooner than later. As far as the lodge is concerned, I think the biggest thing we saw was the connection where the water comes in from the supply from the city. It doesn't appear that it was done according to code. There's like a flexible hose that connects the service to the building. And then the other thing that we saw was knob and tube wiring in the basement. I assumed that it had been abandoned, but according to the caretaker who took me through, he said that it is still in use. So most of the building, the electrical service has been redone, but there still remains some service that could possibly be original to the building, which is from 1930.
So Lee, is that doesn't pose any danger though, is that
It
correct?
doesn't pose a danger, but it is something that
That needs to be
really should be
upgraded.
addressed. If you're
Okay.
going to continue to use the facility, you really want to update all of your electrical service
Right.
to something that's current. And then when you go through the report, you'll see other things like it'll tell you that you will have to replace your fire alarm system.
I saw that.
And the year that it says to do that, that's really generated by the program itself. It doesn't mean it has to be done in that year. It just means the program says it only lasts for this long.
Long thing. Donnie, you had a question?
Well, I was curious whether or not, why wasn't that water corrected, the service corrected when they installed all the water and work down there?
I think, was it? I thought it was. Is that correct?
The line,
The line.
the water department, when it put the septic in, it's been partially corrected, but we're still waiting for the plumber to do the entire job.
No, I was understood that water service was corrected, wasn't it, Mike?
Excuse me,
On
I'm
the
sorry.
Camp Quaney, the water service that goes into the main building. There was a hose connection in there, I understand.
No, that has not been replaced yet. The one
That
in
hasn't?
the one in the basement?
Yeah,
No, to my best of my knowledge, the one in the basement has not been.
why wasn't that done when it was done up there?
When what was done up there, Dawn?
All the water work.
Well, Anne Marie's saying that the water department did as much as they can, but now they need a plumber.
Oh, yeah, it's not, yeah, that's not a water department
Yeah.
Okay,
issue.
all
Yeah,
right,
no,
all
the
right.
water department did what it needed to do, to the best of my knowledge. This is, again, going back to internal work that we've got to,
I thought they put a new
Contract out.
service in and everything.
The water department has finished what they need to do. We just need the additional plumbing work done, Donnie.
Right.
Donnie's part of the water commission, that's why he's making sure that
Okay.
they're doing their job, okay?
All right.
Thank
I
you.
understand it was, never mind. I'll stay out of it.
No, it's a good question. I mean, you need a clarification on it, Donnie. No need to apologize. So, so you've got three documents on the bathhouse, like you said, the cabin electric, north-south cabins, caretaker, and what I liked what was done, Leah, what I liked about the report itself in general was the fact that you gave an indication in terms of how long it would last, so basically at what time approximate it would need to be replaced, or upgraded, or maintained, is that correct? Right, like in
That's right,
2027 I
yes.
saw out here, or 2021, a couple of
Remaining
different,
useful life.
right?
Correct, but again, it's all, like the program says, this is how long it will last.
Yeah,
But obviously, things depend on how well maintained things are, and the program's going to tell you that structure will last for 99 years. Well, we all know there are 300-year-old buildings that are still standing. So
Yep.
it's all just planning for possibly, if you don't take care of it, if you don't do anything to it, then this is how long you can expect it to last.
I'm wondering if it might be helpful for people that might not have followed this. Is there a way for you, in a nutshell, to tell us what process you use to look at things, how in-depth you looked at it, and then are there highlights here that things we have to address, like immediately?
Okay, so typically what we do when we go to look at a property, we look for things that we consider would need to be done right away, and then we look at what you would need to allocate for continuing to have the building function forever and ever. So an example of that would be the windows. We're going to say the windows were replaced in 1990 or 2000 or whatever year they were replaced. And then, so that puts into the program an idea that 10 years from now, 15 years from now, you would need to allocate funds to replace your windows. Again, it depends on the quality of what was put in there initially.
Okay.
So what we look at are systems and what their life cycle cost is, and then based on when they were installed, when they would need to be replaced. A good example is a gas furnace. If you put it in 2000, you can expect it to last until 2030. So in the report, it will show up that in such and such a year, you need to have funds to replace the furnace. Another example is the interior air handlers and the condenser units that are outside. You can expect your roof shingles to last 25 years. So if they were put in 2000 and 2025, you should allocate funds to replace your roofs. So what we found was that you have a number of buildings there. You have the chalets, you have the bathhouses, you have the cabins. They've been reasonably well maintained, and some of the buildings, the chalets, for instance, we thought that you really are going to want to allocate money to for routine maintenance for the siding, to maintain the siding, and the electrical service, as I said, on some of the buildings is dated. The Frontier cabin, for instance, had dated electrical service. We didn't find anything that was alarming. I think that our biggest concern was that the cabins, you had the cabins on the north end, cabins on the south end. The north end cabins, it appears that you have replaced a number of the piers, the supports. The pylons to actually support the buildings have been replaced within the last few years. And then on the south end, we saw that a lot of them are still on concrete block foundations,
blocks, yeah.
and some of the concrete blocks look like they have been maintained, and then others look like they have not. Some of them, actually, the blocks were not aligned with one another, and so that was one of the things that we called out in the report, that you really should budget some money to have those replaced with poured concrete.
So Lee, on that, to that point, and to Laura's question too, in this report, there's a cost recommendation section under each item that you have.
Yeah.
Where you've listed the priority as 1 to, what's the priority? Is it 1 to 10, or is it 1 to 5?
1 to 4.
I didn't get, I know you indicated what it was up in the front part of the
Yeah.
section of the report. And then you indicated the year, right? So my point is, if I saw an item that was priority 1 for 2018, then that would be the more urgent item that needs to be done. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, so I guess the only thing I'm asking for, and I'm not sure I see, so I see this in like the bathhouse, I'm looking at it here, and the steel door. This is cool. But do we have like, can we get a report of all the items? You know what I'm saying, Tia?
A matrix.
Yeah, all the items.
Yep.
By, on like one spreadsheet type thing. And or maybe you can't do that because it would be too big. You know what I'm saying? But is it possible, what I liked about it was the cost recommendations here, if you're looking at this, okay? And you gave right here, this section, where you give what the component description is, the quantity, 3 each, the unit cost, the plan type, the priority, the year, and the expenditure. So if I could just get even a list of those items and organize them by priority 1s first, 2s, 3s, 4s, but is that something that our facility manager is gonna be doing, do we think?
Yes.
Is that right, Mike? So
Yeah.
that's where that's coming
I
from.
agree, yeah, but I agree with, I was hoping, and this is quite excellent and quite thorough. And, there's things that are, like, okay, I didn't know that. I would love to see an Excel spreadsheet that we could sort by,
Priority.
price, by priority, by length of life, that type of thing. Is there a way for you to do a data dump of what you've got in all of these slides?
So are you asking if we can take the data that's per building and do it for the entire
Yes,
facility?
exactly. Yep.
I'm sorry, never having been asked that question, I don't know the answer, but I
Okay.
can find out. And I
Okay.
can certainly let you know tomorrow.
Jim?
It's just,
Hold on.
oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, not to disagree, but if we take, just for example, chalet number 1, and listening to the chair, I like the idea of the prioritizing. It's got 1, 2, 3, and 4. But if you take just chalet number 1, it's got 3 items that are priority 1s, 1 item that's a priority 2, and 1 item that's a priority 3. So I wouldn't want to do the priority 1 items and leave 2 and 3 in the chalet to go work on something else. Let's finish the chalet first so that we know that at least something is done.
No, I'm saying keep them by the same grouping that he's already
Yeah,
done.
he said, yeah,
Okay.
basically, you could
Get
sort
the
it the way
project
you're
done.
saying, you could sort it by cost, you could sort it by, but the point is, right now, we can't sort it by anything, because it's all in these separate, sort of like
Reports.
tranches, so we've, you know, and this is helpful, but when you're trying to look at it from a more of
picture.
a global, you know, large-scale perspective, we really need to have all that information in one place. Otherwise, we're gonna have to sort through each one of these little sub-reports and compare it against the other, and it seems like a rather daunting and arduous task, which could be made much easier if we were able to have one spreadsheet with all this information.
And that means that you would have to probably cull down the information, but I guess what we're suggesting here is that that's something that the facilities director would probably coordinate?
Yeah, and not to jump too far ahead of something I was going to mention in my report, we did speak with 2 people today. We're going to speak with one other person tomorrow. We had spoken to a vendor, as I had indicated, and it's my hope that at the next meeting on the 6th, that I can come before you with a recommendation for someone. So this is going to happen sooner than later, and that person and the people with whom we've been speaking, we've made it clear what the priorities are of that position going forward, that it's, you know, the stuff at the camp, and that the people that I have spoken with thus far, we have given this information to, so they're already privy to it. And one of them obviously will be the choice in the end, but prior to even choosing this person, we're starting this conversation about hit the ground running, taking care of these things. And to the degree that, you know, this board would like to see that information put in a different format, you know, that's certainly a conversation we can start having as early as next week with hopefully the person you choose.
I'm just looking.
Or I
I mean,
choose,
this
or
is a
ask
bunch
you
of-
choose.
This is a bunch of Excel spreadsheets. There's no reason why this can't all be merged and we can't sort it by whatever way we want to sort
Well,
it.
I would defer to the consultant in terms of how to actually merge it, not knowing what formulas, how,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's all sorts of embedded sort of information here that we can't see, so I don't think it's necessarily something that we can sit down and do. You know, we may move a cell and it'll screw everything up.
I meant we in the
So-
royal sense, Mike.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Just to be
I'm just
clear.
used to doing stuff, so,
So
and
this is-
I can't do this, I don't think.
So Lee, I think we're all in agreement that this is a good report. It has a lot of information on it that allows us to know what needs to be done up at Camp Kawani. I guess one of my questions would be is, so on the bathhouse, you gave what they call an X table, right, which is your expenditure costs, is that correct? All right, and then, but the cabin electric doesn't have an X table, is that correct? So I wasn't sure why it didn't. So the cabin electrics did not have, I have two PDFs,
Okay.
and I have a cabin north and south, but I don't have an X table on those.
Okay, so there's a cabin electric 1 and cabin electric 2?
Yeah.
So what, are you?
Are we supposed to be, I guess my question is shouldn't we see an X table on this or no?
Are you referring to both of them or to one of them?
Either one.
Okay.
You should have a cabin X table and a cabin 1 X table and a cabin 2 X table. Is that on there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what are you looking for, Jim?
No, I don't see it on here.
You know?
The electric cabin
see.
2? Because
I
that,
see cabin electric report, PDF, and PDF,
Okay, but I think if you open them up, they're two
did.
different. Yeah.
right? This is the report.
Oh, you've got
And
something
then
different
I've
than
got a
what I've got.
report.
Okay.
I've got two reports. I don't have an X table. Okay, so there should be an X table
There is,
for each
yeah,
item.
there is an X table.
I don't,
yeah.
on mine, I swear to you, Mary, it's not.
I believe
Okay.
it.
It was loaded as a separate file yesterday. I don't know if that's what you're.
Okay, but that's okay. So my question's been asked and answered.
Yeah, it is there, and it's replacing the shingles on the roof
Okay,
in year 3. And then there's always money in there just for maintenance, for staining your siding and things like that, just to make sure that you keep the building maintained.
So what I'm trying to say here is that for each property item, like the cabin electric and the bathhouse and the lodge, you created a report PDF and an expenditure forecast,
Right.
right?
11-year expenditure
11
forecast.
year, for each item.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Which is, that's how we typically do a property, and we do a lot of universities and institutions and government entities, and we always do the report per building. But I can certainly ask if there's a way to merge the information into one. I've just never had to do it, been asked to do it before, but that doesn't mean it can't be done.
Well, who knows, if the facility, I'm sorry, Ms. Frasetti.
Going back to what Joe requested, Joe presented from Elm Street. What I think Jim is looking for is to have like a page, a spreadsheet, like you said, with every building listed down, and then go, what's priority one for that particular building, all on a sheet, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And then you can go from there, but it has to be all on one
Right.
page as opposed to checking from sheet to sheet. And that's an awful lot to ask of a facilities manager when he first comes in, to try and go through all of these sheets. I mean, there's
Yeah.
what, how many pages?
He
So
may-
I mean, if you take all the priority ones from the Frontier cabin and put them under the Frontier cabin, but state what each one is, because I mean, I made copies. But I mean, it's a pain in the neck to have to read every page to see exactly. If you had an open sheet to know what all the priority ones, because you know the priority ones need to be taken care of
Yeah.
now, too sweet, rather than down the road.
But the important thing to remember too is just because we have all the priority ones of, like, the bathhouse, the cabins, and blah, 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 right?
Well, that doesn't-
Whatever the priority 2 is for the bathhouse, right? If you're fixing one thing, it can lead to another.
That's what Jim
Which
was
is what
trying
Jim
to
is
say,
right,
like,
which
if you're
you-
in
yeah.
for the penny, you're in for the
Right,
pound, like,
so some of these,
yeah.
so some of the fixes can be relevant or connected,
Altogether.
and then some of them are separate, can be separate, which is what the facilities director will determine, I guess, so.
He'll determine once he sees that sheet, but
Yeah.
that would be the thing.
But my guess is, you're right, my guess is that he would probably ask Lee how he can take this data and manipulate it to a way in which a facility director would use it.
Well, it's still-
I'd like to see that report too, yeah, I hear it, yeah. Wow, how long did it take to do this, Lee?
Well, the site visit
Approximately, can you give me a
itself,
ballpark?
the site visit itself, we were there for one day. And then to write each of the reports took about a day.
Okay. Well,
Been doing it for a while.
Yeah, it shows.
yeah. Further questions? Anybody else? Mike, did you raise your hand?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, no.
I think this is great. I applaud you, Lee, and I applaud the Recreation Commission. This is a very important step so that we all have a common understanding of what needs to be addressed there. And then, so as we go forward, and you guys are asking for funding, and, we've got articles before us at town meeting, we don't have to all try to second guess what needs to be done and what doesn't need to. We've got a report that is a common understanding that we all have. They're professional, put together. I think it's a fabulous first step, and I really applaud you guys for taking it.
It really makes you wonder, maybe you should do this type of thing for your own home to some degree, I guess.
I
right?
think we should do it for all the town buildings.
Maybe it might come to that,
Yeah.
honestly, yeah.
We'd be happy to do it.
I mean, I see your facility your condition index, capital needs. I like the fact that you put what the costs would be for each item, 1 to 5 year capital needs is 6 to 10 year capital needs. Wow.
The timing's perfect, because we're gonna get this facilities director, and if, without this, would say, have at it, try to figure it out yourself.
Right, you can
And
use this information.
now
to,
we've got something really helpful.
Yeah, kudos to the board for doing this, guys. This was well worth it. And can you remind me, because I've forgotten, how much did the town allocate at town meeting for this? Remember, Emery? The question was asked. Was it 20,000?
are gonna,
I think we got our money's worth on this one.
some people.
So thank
So
you very
we
much.
should take what you guys are requesting, which I agree with, see if you can do, which I'm sure they can, the Excel, and then turn it into like a, capital matrix or a capital
Exactly.
matrix plan for the
Yes.
facilities
For the
guys. So then
facilities, yeah, that's right,
we
Kenny.
can see down the road
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
exactly what's gonna be coming up over the next 10 to 15.
That's right, you'd have to compare your capital matrix, good point, Kenny. Compare your capital matrix to these priority items, right? That makes sense.
And
Makes
share
sense
it
to
with
do
the
it.
capital improvement.
Yep. And of course, do this all with the facilities director there too, yeah.
Right, we're still trying to do the dock, implement the docks with
Docks, yeah.
CPC and do the renovations to the caretaker's house, which wasn't on that report, because we had just had an engineer, an historical architectural engineer come in to review the caretaker's house, so that wasn't on that plan.
Yeah.
And actually, if the town ever proceeds to hire a grant writer or a full-time planner that could write grants, we could go after historic grants for that building as well and coordinate it with CPC funding as well, so. Yep. There's ongoing.
So Mary, I just noticed that my iPad formatted this in a different manner, so I just found the expenditure forecast for the cabins, all right?
Right.
So
There.
I apologize, they're here. They just, what it did was it sorted them alphabetically, Mary, does that make sense? As opposed to keeping them grouped by,
Right, because I didn't
Yeah,
itemize, once I put everything in that folder,
yeah.
I just moved everything in there. I didn't itemize it like I do with the
Yeah, I gotcha. So what it did was it grouped everything C underneath it, everything D underneath it, and so forth, so, all right, whatever. You guys don't care, but,
It makes you feel better,
yeah,
Jim.
I'm not going insane, okay? Any further questions? This was well done. Thank you very much for this, Lee. Much appreciated. I think it's, I think what you verbally stated too about the cabin posts, I've actually seen them when we went up there for a quick tour.
we did.
So,
And then we saw that.
yeah, that's right. So it's all in line with what we expect should be done. So.
Okay, good.
Are there any other questions for Lee on this? And we're not looking for a board, this was just a presentation to us on this, correct?
There's no action
No vote,
required.
no action from us on this. Well done, kudos to the
Thank you.
rec
Yeah,
division.
again, I
and
just
yourself
can't
there.
thank you guys enough for taking this step. It's super important, and it's gonna lay the foundation going forward.
I think this is exactly what the people of Hanson wanted, I'm sure, so. Thank you, Lee.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank you.
We are ready to move on to the next item. Did we have another recreation item on here, or no? Was
Yes,
it
we did. It was item 8.
Item 8, right, which was the request letter of support for the CPC application for the dock replacement. That is item 8 on your iPads, and you should see an email from Diane.
Yes.
And in it, she states, Mary, per our conversation, I'm writing to let you know that the next selectmen's meeting, the Hanson Rec Department will be seeking a letter of support from the Board of Selectmen to CPC in our efforts to secure CPC funding for the new docks at Cranberry Cove. Laura, do you wanna, what? you
Well, I
wanna-
just had a few questions. I assume you guys have already gotten the pre-application, and have you gotten the application approved too?
March 6th.
Oh, so the next meeting, okay. This came up when I was on CPC, the pre-application did, and the legislation definitely allows for water recreation, for CPC funds to be used for that purpose. I'm not gonna step into the shoes of CPC, that's their determination to make, but I think it's a excellent and very creative way to use the funds, and it's something that a lot of people in town are going to benefit from. I think one of the things, I'm not sure, I haven't seen the application, I remember the pre-app, but one of the things that is always important with the CPC application is to make sure that there is some outside skin in the game, money, grant money, something of that sort. So I'm sure that they'll walk you through that process, but I think it's a great I think it's a great project, and I applaud you guys for thinking outside of the box about other funding mechanisms and not necessarily just coming to the town for, even though this is the town, it's a separate account and it can only be used for specific things. So I think it's a great use for the CPC money.
And to your point, Laura, we just actually discussed with Mike regarding fundraising, because we didn't know that we could fundraise or how we could go about doing that, but he checked with the town attorneys, and, we can fundraise if it's for a specific thing, so we're gonna try, once we have a director in place, to try to implement some kind of a fundraising effort for the dock system.
Yeah, and the reason that CPC does that is they really want to stretch the dollar. So far, they've been very successful in making sure that, there's either match money or outside money. We've had individuals give money to projects, that type of thing. And that's why the money has accrued to the point it has, because, it's not funding everything that comes to the committee. It's funding parts of what comes to them.
I think it's important to point out too, while we're on this subject, that and it probably, hopefully will come into play in regards to a favorable response from CPC. We came to find out just today, and I want to thank the tree warden, Dave Hanlon, for bringing this to our attention, that we have actually found that there is a company on the state bid list, on the state contract, that provides such materials, which will preclude the need to go out to any sort of procurement. And generally, what you find with these sorts of arrangements with the state, that the prices are much more reasonable, they're much more advantageous. So it's I thought it was worthy to note that, fortunately, we're able to go in that direction. And again, we can preclude a lot
So
of
they
procurement.
provide docks? Well, I'm sure we're not the only one looking for docks, so, yeah.
But they've been fully vetted by the state, and again, I don't have to go through the 30B process and RFPs and all that stuff that I love to do. But again, it gives me the opportunity to thank Dave Hanlon for bringing that to our attention. And Anne Marie and I had a conversation about this, 2 or 3 hours ago. So everything seems to be falling well into place, hopefully, with this particular project.
So, I obviously support it. I think that the order might be a little bit backwards. Typically, we can give like a letter of support, saying we generally support the concept of it, but what we don't want to do is give a mixed message to CPC that somehow we're trying to make a decision about the funding, because that's what their role is. And the law is very clear that only CPC can make a determination about how to spend community preservation funds. There's a distinct delineation. So I'm wondering, is it okay if we waited until CPC voted on the actual application, or?
I was under the impression that part of the application process was providing letters of support from different
okay,
groups.
all right.
So we support the concept, and it's up to CPC.
Okay,
But
that's
in the
fine.
past, we've always written letters supporting the applications of the various projects.
Then I would move
We're not trying to strong arm anybody.
Yeah,
either,
no,
but yeah.
I would
I think that's how
move
we
that
did
we
it.
vote to support this contingent upon the CPC deciding that it's the way that they want to have the money spent, but conceptually, we support this.
Sure, we support the Hanson Recreation
Yeah.
Department request for
Second.
efforts for the funding on docks at Cranberry.
And can you just recap what that dollar amount is?
To date, for the H-Dock alone, it's gonna be $80,000. The grant is gonna be for $80,000, but, like Mike said, we're trying to get state bids, so we don't have to go out to bid, so maybe it'll be a little less, we don't know.
Okay.
What about the pylons? Were they good? Or they're
No,
fine?
That's the problem.
That's the
They're-
problem?
Yeah, they brought it away, so.
Okay.
It's the whole enchilada.
But,
So when we talk about the docks, we're talking about the whole thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
75, I
gotcha.
think it was, yeah.
Yep.
Mary, what's the correct wording on the motion?
I put in to send a letter of support in the amount of $80,000 for the new dock system for the Recreation Commission.
Contingent upon
Their
meeting the CPC needs, and, because I want to make sure, because we still want to see them try to obtain outside funding of some sort, to the extent it's possible. grant money or whatever.
Have there ever been any other letters of support by the Board of Selectmen to
Yes,
CPC?
we've done
Yeah,
several.
that's part of the
Have they
process.
been that long?
So we
Have
should,
they been that, what do you mean that long?
He's just giving me a hard time.
Actually,
They don't see the
Laura,
motion, they just see the letter.
honestly, I'm really not trying to give you a hard time on this one. And if I'm wrong, please excuse me, but all as the Rec Commission is looking for a letter of our support, that we support them on this project to the PCP.
Right.
to
So
secure funding.
I don't like all the extra wording.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Laura.
I have to say, I agree in, the letter of support, if CPC votes it down, it votes it down.
Then
Our
it's
letter
not the-
doesn't
You know
matter.
what,
But
you guys-
we
you guys are
wanna
right.
let them know that
You guys are
we're gonna
totally
hand the
right.
ball
I'm
and they're-
thinking like CPC,
Yeah.
Right.
and it's fine.
That's fine.
So I will just make a motion that we send a letter of support for this project,
Just let them know we're not strong.
for the dog.
Second.
Yeah. And CPC will make
All right,
the
so-
determination.
No,
So
she
we-
talked.
No, that's not the motion. They'll make the determination about the rest of it,
Those
yeah.
people do their job well.
Okay, so the motion I had on the floor was by Laura, and second by Kenny, to send a letter of support in the amount of $80,000 for the new dock system at Camp Kawani,
Period.
Yep.
period.
I love it.
Okay.
Sounds good. Anything else
Now
from
we-
anyone else on this? Please not. Okay. Let's put it to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0. Thank you very much. That deals with item 8. It's 5-0. We have dealt already with item 9. And we are moving back to the vote the capital asset amount as recommended by the auditors. If you guys recall, at the last meeting on February 13th, we had the auditors in front of us, Lynch, Malloy, and Marini, and they recommended that as part of their comments and what to do for improvements, one of the items under capital assets was, as part of our review surrounding capital assets, we noted that the town has an informal capitalization threshold of $5,000. And I believe they spoke that we should up it to the range of somewhere between $15,000 to $25,000, okay? And then it says, we continue to recommend that the town adopt a formal capitalization policy. So Mike, are we still, so we're here to vote on,
You're just voting on the
amount,
amount at this
right?
point.
okay.
So how do we make that determination, Mike?
Well, what's a good approximate, Mike, for our
Yeah.
capital assets?
I would say, in all honesty, since this is a pretty dramatic change one way or the other, with the threshold originally of 5,000, at this point to change it to 15.
15,
And then, obviously, this is something we can adjust every year.
okay.
But sometimes I like to move more conservatively.
Yeah,
So
we'll
I would suggest that the
You want
board,
to change it later.
That
the
sounds
board
good.
vote a formal number of 15,000, since it was an informal number of 5,000, and we'll put together an actual full policy for the board's consideration at a later date. But for now, we'll be able to give that, at least that level of guidance to the auditors going forward, that
Okay.
we'll go with 15.
So I vote to move that we set the capital asset amount at $15,000 as recommended by the auditors.
Second,
Motion has been made and seconded. Further discussion. So Mike, are we working on a formal capitalization policy?
Yes, we'll put one
Right.
together, but for now, this gives them
Gives us a number
guidance.
amount to apply to.
It gives them a guidance
Gotcha.
for them going forward at this point.
Yep. When do we think we might have it ready, Mike? Do we know?
Oh,
Because
I
does it have to
don't
be voted at town meeting?
No, it does not need to be voted.
This is something that we
Yes.
produce ourselves?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we've got time on it.
Oh, yes. I mean, we could do it at any time at a future selectmen's meeting. It doesn't need to be ready for town meeting.
Okay. Any other further questions?
No, that will be one thing checked off of the audit report next year.
That's right. One less thing.
Yes.
Isn't that cool? Okay. We're doing our job, right? They made the recommendation. We followed through. It makes sense. All right, here we go. All
So,
those-
okay.
So you got the motion, right?
I have the motion, I thought you were gonna move on to something else.
No, I'm gonna call the vote.
I'm watching you.
I'm easing my way into it. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. 5-0 to adopt a threshold for the capitalization of $15,000 by the town. We'll come up with a capitalization policy afterwards. Cool. All right, so that takes care of the completion of item 3, right, Jim? Because we did the school repair,
New
whole
business is
contract. on engineering services we did, the appointment resignations, requests we've taken care of, even the library foundation, up to items 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Old business.
Old business, update on complete streets. Is that you, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Please.
Very briefly, this is probably one of the worst-kept secrets in town.
It's good news, that's
Yeah,
why.
it's very good news. It's just that we received the notification the day after the last meeting. So I wanted to make sure that the public was aware, I believe the board has been aware of it since its award, that we have indeed been granted a little under $400,000 in the Complete Streets Grant Program. It's actually $398,391, specifically for pedestrian and traffic signal improvements at Liberty and County, which I think everyone who lives in the town of Hanson can appreciate the fact that some improvements need to be done there. The notice to actually proceed will be given to us in late March, and the deadline for construction is June of next year, which I believe that we will be able to meet, since we already had a engineering firm engaged to do some of the preliminary work on this, and we have continued forth with engaging them to finish out the work. The very vast amount of credit for getting these funds belong to Laurie Muncy, who unfortunately has left us and gone over to OCPC. However, we are in constant contact with Laurie. I made sure to send congratulations on to her via Pat Chimarella, whose name I always mispronounce, who is the director over at OCPC. So it's extremely good news. These are very, very competitive grants. There's not a whole lot of money to go around on these. This is $400,000 that the town of Hanson did not have and will not need to come up with to improve, again, I think a rather significant problem, dead in the center of town. So I wanted to make sure that that we properly announce this information in a public session before the Board of Selectmen, so.
I sent a note to Lori, and I would ask probably the selectmen do the same thing, maybe just a personal email to her saying thank you for that, because this was a big
Oh,
deal.
yes,
This is a big achievement for
very much so, very
Could
much
we
so.
possibly send something on behalf of the whole Board of Selectmen?
I can write up a letter that you could all sign and we could forward to OCPC.
That would be terrific, I think that would help, yep.
So we just pay for the engineering, Mike?
And we could pay for that out of Chapter 90 monies,
Okay,
which again isn't money that's coming out of the taxpayer's pocket.
excellent.
And that's it in a nutshell, sir.
Under old business.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
Mike. Next item we have is the approval of the January 13th, 2018 minutes. You should see those as, last. Item 10, forgive me.
10.
Is it the 13th or the 23rd?
It should be the item, it says January 13th on the thing, so it's January 23rd. January 23rd, 2018.
Motion.
Motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
Motion seconded by Jim Hickey. Further discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0 on accepting the January 23rd meeting minutes. Okay, moving on to item 11, Mike. We are talking about this is the town administrator's report, Mike.
Yep.
So I want to let you take in whatever order you so choose.
I have two listed items, and then I'm going to update the board on some other outstanding things. I wanted to make sure that the board and the public was aware of this now that we have officially moved forward with it. The towns of East Bridgewater and Hanson are pursuing a joint IT director. We have put an ad on Monster as of last week. The ads will also be on both of the towns' websites. It will be an approximate 50-50 split in cost and in time between the two towns. It's something, it's the type of thing that I've always been in favor of in terms of regionalizing or combining positions that a town in and of itself may not be able to afford. We have had conversations between East Bridgewater and Hanson staff over the last several weeks in terms of formulating a job description and getting an understanding of what both towns would need out of a director. We have found in our conversations that most of the systems that each of the two towns use are the same, that most of the requirements of the emergency services, specifically police and fire, are the same, so that they're a very good match in terms of bringing somebody in who doesn't have to learn two different systems or facilitate two different systems. I'm hopeful that we will engage in interviews in a couple of weeks. There'll be obviously joint interviews between representatives from the town of East Bridgewater and the town of Hanson. In addition to that, we have availed ourselves of a potential grant opportunity that OCPC is helping us out with that could offset, if not completely, take care of the cost for the first year. As I think most people can appreciate, the state is very, very supportive of joint ventures like this for the reasons that I just mentioned, cost savings and better provision of services. So we're hopeful that we should be able to get something out of the state to help us at least in the first year. We believe that we have appropriately budgeted between the two towns the amount of money that we would need to adequately compensate the individual once the individual is chosen. And I just think it's a great thing moving forward.
Well, Mike, that's a lot of work, especially when you're doing a system comparison between the two towns. Were there any items that were of difference, or was it just the majority of
Well,
them?
the vast majority, there are some, I believe there are a few differences between some of the systems used by the fire services, but by and large, everything is pretty much the same. You know, we obviously just recently went into an agreement into a project in terms of GIS with not only the town of East Bridgewater, but also Whitman. So there's an awful lot of similarities. It's a very good marriage. And both towns, or both sets of administration, we're very, very excited and very hopeful. And it's been very, very well received by staff of both towns as well. So it's
Do they have a town administrator or town manager?
yes, town
Town
administrator.
administrator, who
Yeah.
was it that you worked with, Mike?
George, yeah.
Nice.
Samia.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say his last
George
name.
Samia.
He's,
Samia.
Samia.
yeah.
Thank you, Mary, because I would
And-
have killed it on the pronouncing.
And it's funny because it was the first opportunity, and I've obviously been in the area for quite some time, you know, in towns other than Hanson, and I've never really had the opportunity to meet George, and he's a great guy, and we got along very well. I believe that our interactions between staff, we've got along really well, and I think, again, I'd been hopeful that this might be the case with some other towns that we've approached, and some things obviously didn't follow through. I'm hopeful that maybe this is a step in a direction where we can twin with them on other things in the future, and certainly have mentioned that in all the conversations we've had surrounding this particular effort. So it's, stay tuned. I do believe that it's going to be successful. Again, hopefully we'll have somebody in place in the coming weeks. You know, we'll have to put together a memorandum of agreement that both boards will have to sign off on. I really don't imagine that would be an issue. So,
Good
I just
news.
wanted to put it out there, finally.
Benefits with this position?
Excuse me?
Any benefits with that position?
Yeah, there'll have to be, the two towns will have to decide with the person who is chosen, what benefit package they want to take, and we'll work that out. Either the town of Hanson will pay whatever percentage to the town of East Bridgewater, or vice versa,
Okay.
dependent upon the direction that we go. The way that it's set up right now is that it will be an East Bridgewater employee, and that we will pay, you know, whatever portion we need to pay directly to East Bridgewater. But one of the things that is still a matter of discussion is the benefit package to allow the person, potentially to allow the person to choose between the two. And we'll have to work through the particulars, but it's just working through the particulars.
Okay, great.
Good work.
I wanted to let the board know that I signed off on that solar power agreement that we discussed. Jay's people looked it over, and we sent it back to the solar people, and everybody was happy with the final product. So I've signed it, and it's taken care of.
Let us know when we get our first savings bill.
I will. Actually, on the list here, actually spelled out on the list, is I had become aware of a potential class action suit It's actually more of a tort than a
Tort.
class action suit.
Not a class action.
Yep, yep.
That's what they
That
kept
says that in the
saying.
first
Yeah.
paragraph.
But you're good.
And only really attorneys will understand that, and I only understand it because I read it a few times. But I would like the board's permission, I'd like the board's consideration and permission to pursue a contract as approved by town council to join this suit. In a nutshell, there is a statewide effort to seek compensation back from pharmaceutical companies for the costs incurred with the opioid scourge that we're going through right now. Roughly, we've spent about $10,000 in police money. The fire department is still working on how much, which should be substantially more, that we've expended directly related to calls as a result of overdoses.
So they're still working on their numbers, fire
Oh,
department?
yeah, well, what will happen, and we will sign on, hopefully the board will give me permission to sign off on this. But what will happen is, once we get involved in this, we will start putting together very specific figures to send off to the attorneys as they put it in their overall action against the pharmaceutical companies. I do have sort of a tangential experience with this, and Mary informs me that the town of Hanson did as well. The lead company that we are dealing with is Sandman. What's their first? So I always dealt with Sandman. Well, anyway, this is Rodman and Salmon. Yep.
That's it.
This is the same company that undertook which was a class action suit against the oil manufacturers for MTBEs, which was basically an additive
To
in
gasoline.
gasoline.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
that leached into a lot of into the soil in a lot of towns. And they were extremely successful. The previous town I was in, we were awarded more than $1 million. I think Mary said you got about $600,000 to $700,000.
I think it was close to $800,000.
$800,000 back. That was probably about 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years ago. So this company has a very good track record of undertaking these sorts of actions. There is no expense to the town of Hanson or any town that gets
It's
involved.
a contingency, right?
Exactly, and the
Okay.
contingency is 25%.
Right.
So I really don't see any downside to the board allowing me to go forward with this. I've had a conversation with our town council prior to bringing this to you. He sees no downside other than the fact he does want to obviously review the contract, and we do have a draft contract, I believe, in your packages. So what I'm seeking is the board's permission to sign off on a contract contingent upon town council approval.
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion or questions? Mike, this is a good thing, and though I'm not generally Sue happy, but this is something that
excellent.
needs to be followed up
Because you can
with.
get some money to maybe help fight this problem.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really interested, and there was no points in here on like how they're angling that it's the pharmacy's fault.
Well, there is,
Yeah,
there,
this
You know what I'm
is.
saying?
there
This is
are
nationwide.
statements to
Yeah.
that point in here, in the reading materials.
I tried to go through as much of it as I could, but I didn't,
I mean, they're basically saying that they knew that this was gonna lead to addiction, that they put profits before the addiction. It's similar to a lot of the lawsuits that happen with the.
I read that in the
you know,
newspapers,
with-
right?
Yeah, with, with nicotine and cigarettes and
Yeah, yeah.
those types of things. It's very
And that,
similar.
there may have been some misleading promotion of use of these. It's a rather complex action that is being proposed to be taken against the pharmaceutical companies. So, and I don't disagree with you, Mr. Chairman, in terms of I'm not particularly a big fan of going after lawsuits, but the town of Hanson and every community pretty much in the United States of America has suffered or incurred extreme expense from the NORCAM and, the dispatch of emergency services as a result of ODs. And I would assume as well you could also put in crimes that were committed as a result of somebody being under the influence or perhaps stealing or trying to steal the pharmaceuticals or steal to pay for the pharmaceuticals. I'm sure it goes on and on and on. It's far more complex than I can understand.
Yeah.
But, the townspeople of Hanson have incurred a cost as a result of this plague, and to the degree that a court finds that it is, it does stand up, that there's some culpability on behalf of the pharmaceuticals, the pharmacies, why not get what the town deserves back in what it's spent? So,
No, I saw things like pattern of racketeering activity,
Yep.
engaged in mail and wire fraud, that type of thing, so I don't disagree. Okay, motion has been made and seconded.
I just have,
Jim, I'm sorry.
I just have a question, because I didn't want Kenny's comment to go unnoticed. The one you had made about, if money is awarded, going towards the problem.
Right, absolutely.
But, Mike, any money awarded, would that go to the general fund?
well, no, actually, in all honesty, town meeting, if that money was awarded, town meeting could establish. And what we did in the town, well, it was in Avon, what we did when we were awarded that money, we went to town meeting and we asked town meeting to authorize that money to be put in a stabilization account, which the town was sitting on in case, with the MBTEs. The town of Avon's very small, and the pollution was very potentially close to the few sources of water they had. So town meeting was able to allocate that into a specific fund. So Mary's correct, it would come in as a general, into the general fund, but then town meeting can go and it can put it wherever it wants. And we certainly would very easily be able to segregate or be able to identify the specific
That's something
amount
that should
being
be
brought
earmarked
in.
to
Absolutely.
battle the problem.
Yeah.
But my guess is it won't be until quite some time.
Oh, it'd be quite some time, yeah.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. 5-0 to support you, for you to sign the town of Hanson as part of this litigation, Mike. Thank you.
Very good. Let's see, I'm happy to report that the Recreation Commission voted to hire Mr. Joshua Wolf on my recommendation to be the next Recreation Director. His start date is been tentatively put at the 19th of March, and it is my hope that at the meeting on the 6th that Mr. Wolf will be available and can be introduced to the board, and we can go forward.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Well, glad that worked out, Mike. Thank you.
I had a conversation at the end of last week with a company that is interested in putting a solar field on a municipal parcel in the town of Hanson. There may be some issues with that particular site. However, in the conversations I've had with the gentleman, he's going to be coming to town sometime soon. He's actually down out of Virginia, but this is his district. So he is going to come up, and I'm going to show him each of the parcels that are potential for solar. The county hospital, potentially over at the middle high school. There's some other pieces that we've thrown about. So I'm hopeful, actually I'm not hopeful, I fully expect that one of these sites will be conducive for such. So again, I want to make sure the board is aware that we're still, these aren't things that happen overnight, and I know the board appreciates that, but we continue to look at options, ways that we can bring these sorts of, the revenues, these sorts of things to the town of Hanson. In keeping with that as well, we're having a meeting next week, an internal meeting with staff, and actually Laurie is coming over from OCPC, and we are starting a really in-depth conversation about siting the cell tower. So again, I wanted to get up to date on the history. I know that there had been a lot of different proposals of locations, and none of those really caught fire per se. So we're going to kind of start afresh and hopefully decide on which parcel makes the most amount of sense, then come before the Board of Selectmen, make sure we can, and whatever other boards we need to get blessings from it. We may need to go to planning, we may need to go to conservation, we may need to go to water, I'm not sure, but, we want to get this over and done with, and I don't mean that in an inappropriate way. I want to get it done, because it's twofold. I know that it's a source of revenue for the town, but I also know that a lot of townspeople are suffering from, the lack of coverage because we have some dead areas around here. So we continue to internally push that forward, and hopefully I'll have something I can bring for every appropriate board very, very soon. What else do we have here?
Mike, Industrial Communications, remember that name,
Okay. I wrote it down.
all right?
That's good on the cell phone tower, Mike.
Correct.
Okay.
They're out of Kingston, right?
Marshfield?
Oh, yeah, right near the Christmas tree shop,
Yep,
yeah.
on the highway.
I have reached out to the newly appointed superintendent. I plan on meeting with him next week for just an informal discussion about how we move forward cooperatively. I've only heard good things about the gentleman.
Jeff
I'm-
Simon.
Jeff's a great
Yep,
guy.
I'm looking forward to working with him.
Congratulations to Jeff, yeah.
And like I said, prior to him actually taking over the position, I want to develop a relationship with him. I've met him before, obviously, in the past, but not in his potential capacity or his eventual capacity. So in an effort to continue what I think is a very good working relationship with the school department, with the school committee, and want to get ahead of that, and I think he certainly wants to as well. So I'll let the board know how that goes, and I think it may make sense at some point in the not-too-distant future to invite him to a Board of Selectmen meeting and introduce him in his new role.
We should invite Ruth too before she leaves in August.
Oh, sure, I think that we should have some sort of recognition of her service.
Yeah.
And that's, I already touched upon a lot of the other things here and there. I mentioned the facility director and where I think we are with that. And again, I'm hopeful that I'll have a recommendation on the 6th of March that we can move forward on. I guess the only other thing kind of in passing that I'll mention is Laura and I are going to a MMA legislative
Wow,
meeting
that's good.
in Lakeville on Friday.
How'd you get Friday off? Isn't it at 2 o'clock or something like that, or 10? Is it at 10 a.m.?
I'm taking a vacation.
It's
What's up
actually,
with that?
I believe it's first thing in the
I'm
morning.
taking a vacation day.
That's
Yeah.
what I do, but it doesn't start until May.
I believe it's first thing in the morning, but there's an awful lot of opportunities to go, an awful lot of meetings, and some of them
Always
really
during the
are
workday.
worthwhile. This one actually I've always thought was worthwhile. They give you, they run them out every quarter. They give you an update on where certain legislation sits that has direct impact on municipalities. And I think if I'm not mistaken, and it just is a continual topic, but an important one, they're going to update us further on where recreational marijuana sits.
Yeah, I attended that one in Marshfield, and I got a lot out of it.
Yeah, that's right.
I attended
That's- I
the Metro
forgot that you'd
Chamber
gone with us
of
on the
Commerce
meeting. The Metro
one.
brought- yeah.
That was quite excellent. You know, it's a good way to meet people from other towns. A lot of them are going through the same experience as we are. And, you know, and it's good to get different, fresh perspectives on, you know, what people are learning, so,
These are valuable. Some of them
Yeah.
aren't as much. These are.
yeah.
That's cool.
Mike, I did have a question, that economic development, I don't know what we're calling it, subcommittee or whatever. Are we gonna get some traction going on that?
Yeah, I'm working with OCPC, as I had mentioned, to bring in Pat and Bruce to have a discussion with the Board of Selectmen as to how to move forward on that. And of course, all of that is timing. It's not going to happen on the 6th, it'll happen on the 20th?
Okay,
On the 20th.
all right, thank you.
Can we also, Mike, if you think of it, check with Deborah? on
planning
the
agent?
planning, yeah,
Yeah.
and where we are with the open space plan. I know that she was gonna look it over before we submit it to the state, right?
Sure.
Please,
Yep.
before I forget. All right, so, Mike, is that all?
Yeah, it is all.
Thank you very much. So we're moving on to committee reports. 200th Anniversary Committee, Laura Kenneth.
Not much to report. I am given to understand that Liga Marsh will be coming to the March 6th meeting to tell the whole Board of Selectmen where we're at and, you know, what we've accomplished so far. Because Marcus is unfortunately not available on Tuesday nights. It's a big Boy Scout night in
Yes, it
town.
is, yeah.
And it always has been. It's
Yeah.
historically been. So Liga Marsh, I think, is going to come, I believe, Mary, to our March 6th meet, the next meeting, I think.
Okay, I didn't know that, so.
Yeah, she's playing, Marcus seemed to think that that was the date she was supposed to be coming.
Okay.
That's terrific, thank you.
Yep.
Next, we have the Mont Ponce Pond Committee.
I think they'll be doing a treatment with Westmont Ponce Pond once Brockton stops diverting water sometime in May.
Terrific, Donna.
Could be June, but I'm not positive.
All right, thank you. The final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee. Don, how are we doing on the?
We got a meeting coming up the 7th, I think, is that next Wednesday?
Yes, it is.
Then it's here.
That's
Do you,
right.
do you
4
guys
o'clock.
think you're gonna have any articles for the upcoming meeting, town meeting?
I doubt it.
No.
Yeah,
this one?
okay.
What about, how about the
It's not
tower?
finished up there yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
You
yeah.
can't do anything
I
until
know.
you're finished.
Yep.
I keep asking every time, and I know Mike is
Hanson School.
my favorite
I like
subject.
that name better.
Has Kenny taken down the tower yet, or no?
No,
No?
No, as I mentioned
It's still
before,
there.
the ground at this point is,
Oh, it's still too wet?
yeah,
It's
we'll
soft.
tear the place apart at this point. It's a matter of just the ground getting firmed up and it'll be taken down and the scrap will be disposed of.
Cool.
How about that
We
little
have a-
pile of rubble?
Donnie, will you,
I don't know.
Oh,
That will also be addressed in the spring,
in the spring?
yes.
Question,
Yeah,
Joan?
I had a question on, you remember how at the other meetings you mentioned about the piles of dirt that have accumulated in, you don't know what to do with them? There are 2 sites at Camp Kawani that need to be filled in. Could there possibly have any use for that dirt?
Probably not, because my fear is that
This is sewer?
those piles may be contaminated.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I
certainly.
thought they were already.
No, they're like,
No, that particular pile, no. The piles that you may be referring to, that we did have looked at, they have already been filled on site. This particular pile is rubble, and it looks like.
It's on the old parking lot
It
where
looks-
the hospital used to pack
It
all
looks
their
like some
cars.
construction sort of debris, and I really wouldn't want to bring it over there.
I'm just curious, because if there's any available, because down by the Frontier Cabin, there's a big dip between there and the bathhouses.
We actually
Yeah.
considered it. We did consider it
Okay.
if we needed a place to put it. But we had, obviously, it was much less costly to redistribute it on that property. But we had played with that idea as well.
But and then also behind the, I think it's chalets 1 and 2, there's a dip down, and eventually, if we don't build that up, if they don't build that up, that's gonna end up with the buildings going down that hill.
is that on the facility report too? Did he put something on that? That's
I
not
don't know.
it's not really a facility item,
Right.
but that might be something that would have the director
I
look
haven't
at.
seen the chalet report, so I wouldn't know if there was anything mentioned there, because
Yeah.
it's between the, I think Jim must have remember those.
Yeah.
you know. Not saying anything.
That's cool, though. It's a good point. So clean fill wanted, I understand from that area. Next we have is the McQuon School Reuse Committee, Laura.
we are still looking for new members. We will be meeting in 2 to 3 weeks. Once we get said members, I've gotten a little bit of activity of people indicating that they're interested, which is quite lovely. And so we'll be meeting in 2 to 3 weeks. In the interim, I'm going to attend the meeting tomorrow night of the facilities, WHRSD facilities meeting, to just kind of find out what they're saying about McQuon.
They do, they have on their agenda, they posted McQuon closing Indian Head
Yep.
School. So what they intend to do what they've done on February break and so forth, so. And I think, Jim, you said you're going to?
Oh, yes.
Right, so, thank you, Laura, for that. So next is the Hanson School Repair Committee. Jim, you guys got a meeting coming up on the 13th, right?
Yes, we do, and we'll be putting, with the help of Mary and Mike, I'll be putting an agenda together to get reorganized, and then, we'll move on from there. But what I would like to ask is that we are short a member now, so if that could go on the announcements, well, they've been,
I was
the
thinking of that.
committee
that's why I
itself
read
had
them.
been short for a while.
Yep,
But if we could just get that out there and,
and maybe some of the people in Hanson and ourselves included, try to get some reputable people out there on that board, yeah.
Yeah.
Some like contractors, not contractors, but you know what I'm saying, like. Okay, thank you, Jim. And also, Jim, just a heads up too, I got information that the Memorial Hall was scraped and sanded and painted,
It
which
was
is really
done,
good.
yeah.
So kudos to Ernie and his
Also, it
team.
was already done?
Yep,
Yeah, good.
that's what I'm told, so kudos to Ernie and his team for getting that done. Much
And-
appreciated.
I should probably say too, kudos to Ernie is right, because I went and checked yesterday, and the playground was removed.
It's removed, yeah, yep.
So,
Terrific, thank you very much. So next we have the Highway Building Committee, Mr. Mitchell.
Nothing new. We haven't met.
Okay. Okay, so we're at 9:02 or 9:03 on our clocks, and we're moving to executive session. And when we adjourn from executive session, we will move to the regular meeting adjournment. So I must read to you all that we are, I'll tell you what, why don't I I'll read, moving to executive session, take a 5-minute break, and then we'll go from there, okay? So, executive session will be to discuss the strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, fire union. So with that, I'll take a 5-minute recess, and then once we'll come into, we'll move to executive session. I'll take a roll call vote. All those in favor?
Well, you want a motion?
Do we need a motion
So
first, right?
Somebody says, so moved.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Second, there you go, Kenny.
Yes.
Not getting involved.
Roll call vote. Yes?
I'm in favor.
Yes.
Yes, well, we're now in executive session. Why don't we take a 5-minute break? And again, when we adjourn, we'll move out of meeting. We're all set.
Big time.
Thank you. We will not be back, that's correct. Meeting is over for you guys.